The race to be the next Spartanburg County Sheriff is on, and voters will have 9 candidates on their ballots. They include current Deputy Robert Cheeks, former Deputy Andy Clark, current Spartanburg County Coroner Rusty Clevenger, and the list continues. Current Town Councilman in Lyman Adam Crisp, former Deputy and candidate for Sheriff Nick Duncan, and current Deputy Randy Hollifield. And the rest of the candidates include Spartanburg Police Officer Joseph Pilato, retired State Trooper Bill Ryan, and retired law enforcement officer at the local and federal levels, Rick Stevens. And you decide soon. Early voting begins July 21st, with Election Day for the primary set for August 5th. And if a runoff race is needed, which is expected with 9 candidates, that election will be held on August 19th. This summer, Spartanburg County, you decide. And one of those candidates running for Spartanburg County Sheriff is Andy Clark. So, Mr. Clark, thank you so much for taking some time with us.
Thank you.
I like to start these interviews all the same way. Why run for sheriff?
So I left a little short of 25 years, which is our retirement. So I left at 23 years. Due to the culture and the climate of the sheriff's office wasn't what it was whenever I started. So I left and left some unfinished business there, tech-wise, and also leaving the officers when I really didn't want to, and I don't want to do things, half-butt, per se. Mm-hmm. So the opportunity came along, so threw my hat in the ring.
2 years shy of retirement. Was it that bad?
So I was able to retire because I had some school time.
Sure.
So I was able to transfer state retirement system, not transfer, but use that time along with my police retirement system. I was able to retire fully, but only at 50% of my annual financial contribution. So, but yes, it was 2 years short of a full 25.
So it was one of those things where was it that bad in the sheriff's office where you couldn't even make it 2 more years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You were able to work for Sheriff Wright for a long time. You spent nearly 20 years there at the sheriff's office.
Yes, sir.
During your time there, you were promoted through Sheriff Wright, worked closely with him. Did you see anything that was concerning? And if so, did you report it? Because now that we have that letter from SLED, those recommended charges there to the prosecutor and the state solicitor there of the 10th Circuit, is there anything that you saw in those 20 years where you thought, that's not right?
No, sir. Just again, talking about the helicopter, right? Just one of the hot topics, I think it is. That was the only thing, is him not being present in the office and using it more of a toy, is what, again, county council, ultimately pulled the funding for. But seeing it as a tool, now that I've talked to some of the officers who actually operated it and flew alongside, they don't need to get rid of it, for one thing. And with the chaplain as well, I helped put on a 5K. I was race director for a 5K to raise money for that benevolence fund, and no way would I have raised money if I thought it was going to be abused like that.
Sure. Something else, your years at the sheriff's office, you spoke about it in a recent interview about a demotion there inside the sheriff's office. You had said, my people didn't like the way I was supervising.
Correct.
When you were talking about that. What happened with that? What do you want voters to know about that situation?
So again, it's a learning lesson through leadership. Again, they didn't like the way I would mass send out an email saying, hey, somebody gets in trouble, I had to talk to somebody. So I would mass send it out. I wouldn't include that person's name, just trying to let them know, hey, don't do what they did, please. Because again, they not necessarily broke a policy, but it wasn't favorable amongst all of them. And then I had to reprimand somebody. They didn't like that. So again, one of my platforms is having that due process for officers. I felt like I wasn't given the due process, and whenever I was demoted, the last bits were, well, I talked to the sheriff. Well, that's who the appeals goes to, is to the sheriff. So I knew after that, the appeals wouldn't be there, and that's when I started looking for a different job, because again, that culture just is not there. That open door, it was shut. So
what did you learn that you will take with you if you are elected sheriff?
So again, not just having the open door, but going through my open door into theirs, into their offices, making sure that they're okay. Yeah, they did come and check on me, and I checked on them whenever they were coming to, but it's going to them. That's one of the biggest thing, and that's what I've learned throughout this, campaign so far, is don't let the customers come to you. You got to go out to the customers sometimes. So again, going through these community events and everything, going out and talking to people, and not just sitting behind the desk is that outreach there.
Mention the outreach. What is the #1 biggest thing that you would change at the sheriff's office? Because you've seen it, you've been a part of it, you left early because of it. So what's the biggest change?
It's being available and holding the people accountable. The biggest change, again, is changing that culture inside. I think they've been slighted with the pay. It just hasn't been there. You see all the growth in the county, and here we are with the infrastructure and everything. They're not prepared for it. They're just building houses, and those people have to be protected. We want to get good quality people in, and we want to keep the best quality people that we have there. You know, they're 40-something short. I'm not sure if it's going to get any shorter than that. It's going to be a struggle, but let's retain and then also recruit well as well.
You mentioned the pay. Your pay, if you are elected, has been dropped significantly by county council. Does that factor in how you approach the job at all?
It does not, because again, I'm here for the people, and not just the officers, but again for the citizens. That's my job. You know, I'm used to being on call, 24/7, 365 with my previous job in admin and being over the records management system. So I'm used to that. The pay. I have the experience, and hopefully they'll at least look at my experience and see what I'm doing within the sheriff's office and get that pay a little bit up.
You mentioned the helicopters, saying you don't believe that they need to get rid of that entire system. Something else that Sheriff Stevens is now looking at and has ended is Rolling Thunder. Would you keep it closed, or would you bring Rolling Thunder back?
One of the things is the why. Again, one of my big platforms is the why, and why were we doing things during Rolling Thunder the way we were? Why were we seizing things? And being able to explain that, being able to explain, here's the law of us able to civil asset forfeiture things. So do I think it needs to be, every year? No, definitely not. Again, it's something that you're going to have to go in and take a look at. Suspend it, that's great. I would have done the same thing. Again, we got to see the benefits of it as well. You get a lot of this drugs and money coming through Spartanburg County, but it's actually going to the citizens, looking at that as well.
So you would be open to bringing back Rolling Thunder?
Yes, sir, after again, looking at all the particulars. If it doesn't look like it'll be beneficial, then no, again, it's suspended, so we don't have to bring it back if, we look at all the stats on it.
Okay, critics say unconstitutional. Even one of your opponents calling it unconstitutional.
Right, and again, that's knowing the laws. Again, the federal agencies were there with us. Federal prosecutors also picked up some of the cases and were there interested in the cases. I would hope to think that they would say something, about what the cases were, to make bad case law or stuff, and just stop and go, hey, this is wrong. And then again, we learn from that.
One of the biggest key words throughout this entire race and this campaign has been transparency. How will you bring back transparency to the office?
I already did it in the office. So as part of my job, as records, if we saw where records weren't being, or reports weren't being written properly, or we saw a law that could have been more utilized, I created a newsletter for the last year and a half. I did a quarterly newsletter letting everybody know what I was doing, and also what was coming. Online reporting, it was close, and then I was just one person. I didn't have anybody to test it, and then having a community crime map as well, I was able to push that through. So that was something to look forward to. That was something to give the officers, to let the citizens know, hey, there's a community crime map out here if you're wanting to know what's in your area. So those newsletters, giving kudos to that. It's done quarterly, I think, with the transparency, bringing in questions, hosting town halls, having live streams, and being able to answer those questions.
Those live streams, you have had several of them on,
Yes,
on Facebook, one of those things. You do plan to continue those if elected sheriff?
Yes, I do. Yes, I think they're beneficial. And again, that's, not me sitting behind the desk. That's me getting out and reaching out to those customers.
One of your opponents has released his entire personnel file. Is there anything when it comes to your file that anyone should be concerned about, or any violations that you would want the voters to know about? Or is it one of those things where you are fully confident with the information of your years in law enforcement?
I'm fully confident with my years in law enforcement. Again, it's FOIAble. Anybody can get it. If 5 people want to get it, one person wants to get it, go ahead. I'm comfortable.
Okay. When it comes to the promise for voters of Spartanburg County, what would you promise them right now when it comes to their next sheriff?
Again, the accountability and the transparency and having that open door, being able to talk to them.
What do you think makes you stand out from the rest of the field? It's a crowded field.
It is. It is.
8 other candidates, 1 of 9. What makes you stand out?
I have the experience. I have the knowledge behind the law, behind the sheriff's office. I've been through the whole uniform patrol. I've been through investigations, 2 different aspects of investigations: property and white collar, being on call for sexual assaults as well during that time, and then also transitioning over to the admin side. I've been on special teams, was on the SWAT team, and so again, all those aspects of the sheriff's office I'm familiar with, and it's relevant experience because I haven't been gone that long. So having that under my belt, working with mutual aid agreements with NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Computer, which is legislated by the FBI and SLED for criminal justice information, CJI information, almost like HIPAA. Knowing all that, knowing the gamut, again, the sheriff's office plateaued. And I think once I'm in, I'll be able to, pick everything up and move it forward.
When it comes to if you are elected sheriff, you mentioned the people you were supervising. You might have had some conflicts with them. How do you plan to approach them if elected sheriff on day one there in office?
So I left on good terms with them, or most of them, and just here recently I reached out to one, and we made amends, and that's the biggest thing is again, the past is the past, and we need to look forward.
Okay. I think finally here, quickly, your stump speech to voters, a final thing that you want to leave them with before they head to the ballot box.
Okay, change is coming. It's a good change. We're going to be transparent. We're going to be held accountable. I want you to hold me accountable. Again, you go to the polls, just know that the change is coming and that we're going to pick everything up and move it forward, and we're here for you, the people. So yes, that's hopefully the people will get out and vote. Andy Clark for sheriff.
Andy Clark, thank you so much.
I appreciate it.